I'm your host, Felipe Rose, and welcome to the Disco Chronicles and Beyond. This podcast is about the disco era, the music, the culture, and the impact it's had on the world today, and why disco is still so hot. After successfully touring the world for over 4 decades as one of the original co-founders and members of the world-famous Village People, selling over 100 million records, this disco king truly knows a thing or two about the disco era. So sit back and relax and enjoy my conversation with my guest today. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Disco Chronicles. I'm your host, Felipe Rose. Well, I'm very excited about today's show. I gotta tell you something. Tonight's guest begins our freestyle celebration on the Disco Chronicles and Beyond. All of the upcoming guests have dropped singles, EPs, CDs, albums, and vinyls just in the last 3 months of this year, and they will all grace our podcast for the next 4 weeks. Woohoo! I first met our guest tonight, Will Valentine, in the 1990s in his recording studio. I was mastering a recording project there called Lost Desire in the House of Love, DA, The House. A house musical inspired, produced and written by me for some of my artists on my label in the mid-1990s, Tomahawk Records and the Tomahawk Group. Will had just signed with the iconic freestyle label Micmac Records. Those in New York, y'all know Micmac, in 1995, which led him to start his own label, Artistic Records, that same year, and was distributed by Micmac. And 35 years later, is still going strong. His latest single was released in 2022, called The Love of My Life, which received a lot of attention on streaming services, as well as downloads, CD sales around the world. This year, Will has produced a number of artists, and more importantly, he just landed the #1 spot on iTunes, Amazon, Tidal, SoundCloud, and many, many more streaming platforms with freestyle singer, international DJ, Tony Moran. Wow. Please welcome to the podcast, to the Disco Chronicles and Beyond, Will Valentine. Whoa! My guest today, Will Valentine. How are you, my friend?
How are you? What's going on?
Listen, no, I did put 2 and 2 together, and I could not believe that I went to your studio.
Yeah.
And when was that?
This was late 90s. Yeah, it was. I was mastering some compilation or some mix thing that you did with Artie.
Oh, that was Lost. That was the House CD.
Yes.
Lost Desire in a House of Love, and it's interesting because I just got the all the masters and all the master CDs from my ex-producer's house, who I lost 2 years ago from cancer, Frosty Lawson. But that was due to the pandemic because his chemo was delayed. Everybody that was having those procedures, and so he only had 3 more to go. And I know. And so I pulled out of the box the mastered.
Oh, that's crazy.
Compilation that you worked on. But did I go to your place?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
We had a ball. I remember it vividly because my mom is. I remember we had a conversation. My mother is still a big Village People fan, and you brought me pictures from my mom and everything. She still has it to this day. She loves you guys.
Oh, good. Well, then that saves me mailing. Mailing again. So here we go. That I believe that this month literally is celebrating freestyle with the fact that you, Artie Rodriguez, and what's the other cat, the skinny cat?
The skinny cat.
He's Dios mío. I forget his name. and then of course you have an album, freestyle album out, music out,
Yeah.
and also Tony Moran,
Yeah.
which we're gonna get into that. That you actually took over and remastered, reproduced it, remixed it, and it went to #1 in iTunes and Amazon.
Yeah.
And what else? What else did where else did it go?
It #1 on Amazon, #1 on iTunes, and now it's in the, it's funny, vinyl. We have vinyl and CDs on it, and vinyl is like,
Vinyl's hot right
it
now.
is. I couldn't believe, and Tony goes, "How's the vinyl doing?" It's doing way better than the CD.
Well, first of all, is he on the vinyl?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Look, I'll show you.
Well, then I need to get one. Oh shit.
And then he
You
had a
know,
cool picture in the back.
yeah, because the boy is just too damn fine. You know what I'm saying? I even started when I got my haircut. I said, you know what? Let me start owning the gray over here like Tony does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So reading your bio and looking at everything that you've done and how you came into the scene, you were 16, and there were no issues back then with being as young as everyone was. Not
Yeah.
that it mattered, because today to go into a club you have to be 21, but back in the day, you could look all grown and still be 16
Exactly.
and get in. So you went into Studio 54 in 1986, but Studio 54 closed in April of 1986 because they couldn't keep their liability insurance,
Yeah. Yeah.
due to all the major lawsuits that were going down. So I'm gonna call you second generation at Studio.
Yeah.
Studio
Yeah.
54. So what was that experience like for you? Because you went there,
Yeah.
and by then, you knew all of the things that went down and how famous it was. How was that experience for you, just knowing when you got there?
It was amazing. I'll never forget it. My sister's a little older than me. She took me. She's like, "Put on this blazer. It has the shoulder pads." I was a stick. She goes, "No one's gonna ask you for ID." I'm like sweating at the door, and we got in. And let me tell you, I was 16. My, you think, oh, you have all this energy. By 2 o'clock, I was like, "What time are we leaving?" But I was tired. But it was an amazing.
But you didn't know the cue. You didn't know the big moon, and then the big spoon that would go across the dance floor. That what time that was?
Oh no, no.
Okay, so the big spoon with glitter on the end of it, with glitter falling from the base of it.
Yeah.
So you had the handle. So when the spoon would go across the dance floor over people's heads, it was time to bust out the coke. That was like the everything is clear, the coast is clear, y'all can do what y'all need to do. And the thing is that, I mean, I was cleaning old boxes, and I found a little jewelry box where you could put a ring in. And I thought there was something, maybe a jewelry. I opened it up, and it was a little brown bottle.
Oh wow.
Where you could literally do a hit, roll it over, hit it once, and then boom, on the dance floor. And so
Yeah.
I found that. I guess I must have just said, okay, I'm going to keep that for posterity and hold on to it. And I'm glad I did, because it literally reminded me of those days.
Wow.
So here you are at Studio 54 at such a young age. When was the moment when you knew you were going to go into music? Did it happen then at that moment, or a little bit after that?
I've always been like a musician, but never thought about singing, never thought about production. It was more like, I enjoyed singing whatever was on the radio, right? And being there and hearing the demo for the Cover Girl Show Me.
That's it. Yeah, big hit.
When I heard the thump of those drums, I'd never forget. Like, I memorized it. Next day, I called my best friend, like, we need to do this kind of music. I wasn't a singer. I knew how to, I guess I could sing a tune, but I'm like, whatever it is, we got to do it.
And well, everyone can sing. Everyone can sing. I mean, whether you sing like they do on Broadway, the singing actors, they sing talk, or they are singers, but everyone can sing. You just have to, practice, and if that's what you want to be, practice and get into it. But I mean, you got into shortly after that. So freestyle music, freestyle music at that point, when you went into Studio 54 before it closed, so you must have gone there before it closed.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly. I think it was the winter. It was early because I remember I had to wear a coat and I had the blazer with the coat.
So it must have been early in the year,
Yeah,
probably,
yeah,
probably, and then in April it closed. But by then, being that you heard the cover girls at studio, that was the full height of the freestyle movement,
yeah.
and so you started. When did you start your group? There was a group that you started called all in one or
All
one.
in. Yeah,
Oh, all in,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there was a female in that.
Yeah, she was who ended up being Naija. She was my dancer, and she got
Okay.
signed to make my. I did her demo. Me and my partner, we did her demo, and she got signed before us. We were like, "What is going on?" But that's like our sister. I still talk to her.
Well,
I just
she was the full package at that time. Because I don't remember her being with All In. I do remember her when she then came out with her own music,
yeah.
which is
Now and forever.
uh,
Yeah.
yes. Then there was another one,
Who's got your love?
and then you worked with George Lamont.
Yes.
That's another, and George Anthony.
Yep. Oh yeah.
To name a few. Now, Micmac Records. Now, these are labels that were boutique labels,
Yeah.
and they really knew how to promote an artist. So, being that you got into studio through your sister, so
Yeah.
the love of disco that your sister must have had was beyond,
Yeah.
was amazing for
Yep.
her to say, okay, now did they play the night that you were there? They still rolled disco music out when they would mix.
Yeah, it was a mix of everything, like house and not much freestyle. Freestyle was there, but it's not like it was.
Well, you were at the beginning. That was the
Yeah,
very beginning of freestyle.
yeah,
So it's fair to say that when you were at studio, you were still feeling it was right after the death of disco, when disco was killed off by radio
yeah.
and radio DJs. And that already has been established on this podcast by
Okay.
many reliable sources.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of your favorite? Don't say Village People, because don't, please don't. What are some of your favorite disco songs?
You know what's funny? I have a daughter who's 14, loves disco, and when we travel, my playlist is disco. So we're doing a long, and she sings everything. She'll sing the Bee Gees. She'll sing. Oh my God, I'll know more of the songs than the name of the artist. To be honest with you, dance with the boogie.
Oh yeah. So the thing is, and it's fair to say that that here you are with your daughter, and you're listening to disco because she loves it. That's the thing that disco had such a huge hold on the culture,
Yeah,
the club culture. Then it influenced fashion, it influenced everything, but that it still continued even after you got to Studio 54. It was still prevalent, it was still there.
yeah.
It was a beating heart,
Oh,
you know
absolutely. And I always tell my daughter about the times in the 70s when I would have, one of my neighbors, he was same age as me. We would hang out, play with toys, whatever. His parents or his mother, really, his father wasn't there, but his mother was getting all discoed out with with the outfits. And she was ready to go to Studio 54 and whatever clubs, she was a disco, clubber. She used to go out there every weekend, and she used to play the music over and over and over again. And it's funny, I didn't notice how much I would grow to love it. Now that I'm older, that's what I want to listen to. And my wife's in a band; she performs disco also.
Okay.
My daughter sometimes gets on stage with her and sings those songs. She knows them, and it's weird. I went to one of her proms. My daughter had like a little, middle school prom, and they played disco, and they love it. The kids were loving it.
Well,
So
it's interesting that you're saying that, because I somehow ended up performing on stage and part of this Gimme Gimme Disco event thing that is being done around the country, and
Mhm.
they do it in New York, but they start at midnight. They literally come in when the evening is almost over at whatever venue. Then the DJ and the people set up, they have 40 minutes to set up the room. And then they hang the big giant banner, gimme disco, the DJ, the table, the stage, and whatever props they're gonna throw out, whether they be balloons. And somehow I'm now, through a friend, I'm now performing with them, but I'm going on at 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's not that is not easy to do. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it was back in the day when we could hang out that late.
Absolutely.
I literally invited maybe a dozen people, and everybody said no because it's 1 a.m.
Right. Right. Right.
They're like, we don't hang out that late, bro. Like, oh my God. So, you started your own label, but where you signed Micmac Records had a very large influence in a lot of the music that was being released in the late 80s into the 90s.
Yeah.
Now, when did you come into the beginning of you starting your own label?
So that was like 1994, 94, 95, around there. And it all happened by accident because I was working with a lot of artists doing tons of songs. I mean, pretty much hundreds of songs a year. That's all I did. Music. Woke up, did music, went to sleep for a couple hours, woke up, did more music. And I had an artist tell me, dude, why don't you just open up your own label? And as a joke, he said, call it Artistic Records with a K. I'm like, huh, that sounds pretty good.
Okay, got it. So, the thing is that, well, the beauty of what you did, and I was trying to do that when I had Tomahawk Records, but I was simultaneously still in the group, still
Yeah.
touring. So things were always in the flux. I
Yeah.
was either arriving after people were there recording and jumping into sessions, and then things just, it was too chaotic. And
Yeah.
I needed to decide, back then, what was bringing in the money.
Of course.
Label, not saying that Tomahawk Records didn't make money, it did, but that Village People was more lucrative, so I stayed with that. Then with you had aspirations of being a singer, and you
Mhm.
were in a band, but it was the production side of it that
Yeah.
took you and put you where you are today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I never wanted it to be that way. But hey, I feel blessed to do it because I met a lot of great people. It made me a better musician and made me appreciate more music because I try to incorporate a little bit of everything when I do a production. So I love it. Can't complain.
And so how was it working with TKA and Naisa? We know Naisa. Coro was
Oh,
another
yeah.
huge act. Was he signed to you, or these other acts were signed to other labels?
Well, Cora was on Cutting when I did his song. Yeah, they were doing a compilation. It was called Freestyle Reunion, and they go, "Hey, do you want to do a choral song?" I'm like, "Heck yeah," you know. And he was amazing in the studio. Like we all like choral, right? We think he sounds great, but when you hear him record, I'm like, "Dude, you're really good, like talented,
Well,
very
that's
talented."
interesting. That's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because there are singers and there are acts that they sound great in the studio, but then they can't seem to transcend that on stage live.
Yeah,
Um, and I learned the tricks of the trade with one of the very best producers in the business, the late Jacques Morali, who always said, double all your vocals.
yeah, double,
So
yeah,
that way the song is really solid and strong. And then when you hit the stage, just remember what you sang and then sing it in that register or in that note. It's the
uh-huh.
same thing having a cold. When you have a cold and you can't sing, what the singers do, we'll pick a key. we'll,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we'll find a key and we'll sing in that key
yeah,
for that
absolutely.
while we have the cold.
Yep.
So tell me something. What what do you what impact did disco have, not just with you and your family, but what was why does it still have a stronghold on the culture and society today?
You know what? That's a great question because I feel it. I feel it more now than when I was a kid, right? But when I hear it now, I don't even say it's nostalgic. it grabs you when I hear the melodies, right? And you think the technology was different in the 70s and early 80s, right? What we have now can fix anything, right? So I have a lot of appreciation when I heard ABBA and I'm like dancing queen, right? My wife and my daughter sing that, and my daughter feels it. I feel it when I hear it. So it's a feel good kind of music. It has nothing to do with it reminds me of this. No, it just makes you feel good. I'm on the car. Oh, I can't wait till the next song. Next song comes on, you're like, oh my God, it's so good.
That's right. And that's what this thing, Gimme Gimme Disco event is like, with like literally over 800 or maybe 1,000 people just show up. Literally, on Saturday, doors open at 12. I go on at 1. I go on as the surprise of the evening. So imagine that they weren't even alive. They're in their 20s and 30s. So they weren't even born,
Right.
or maybe may have been little toddlers,
Yeah.
but they're enjoying disco. And I was watching last weekend after I finished performing, just looking at them, not too far, maybe on the other side of like the security area, but just watching them sing like ABBA, like when ABBA comes on, and they sing it like it's like they've never heard it before.
Yeah.
And so it's happy music.
Yeah, it is.
Which is why I do believe that it made such a huge comeback during the pandemic, because we were locked in, we were locked down.
Yeah.
People needed to hear something. Everyone gravitated to disco. And then disco then started having sort of like a comeback with all the Donna Summer remixes, and then Dua Lipa. If she's not disco, I don't know what.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad.
What's the other Asian Korean group? BK7. I'm bad with names.
Oh, me too. BTS.
BTS. Yes. Their music sounds
very.
If Village People were around today and we were recording, we would be doing music like that.
Yeah.
You know, we would be doing music like that. So now let's talk about, wow, this is amazing what you pulled off with Tony Moran. Yeah. Okay. International DJ, no, like really, he tours the globe.
Yeah.
And I totally forgot that he was with
the Latin Rascals.
He was with the Latin Rascals, and I made him laugh last week. He's going to be on the show. Yeah. He graciously had to decline because he was flying out early. I said, "Well, I'm gonna do the last show will be like a tribute show to you." And I said, awesome. But when you were with that group, the Latin Rascals, I did like a flipism. I turned the song around and I said, "Abracadabra." He said, "No, it wasn't Abracadabra, but I like that." So what was the name?
Arabian Nights.
Was it Arabian Nights?
Yeah.
But what was the song? Was it Abra?
No, the song was Arabian Nights. There was Mandolay. He redid Mandolay with the other Rascals. He had a lot of songs, but the big record is funny. We just did a show in Westbury in Long Island, and Noel did a tribute to Tony, and he sang Arabian Nights, and the crowd all sang along. It was amazing because that hook.
Well, yeah, because that's a song that everyone remembers. Now, how did that relationship between you and Tony? How did that begin?
So it's funny. Right? It's very similar to like our beginning of our conversation. Tony doesn't remember me from back in the days. Right?
What? Say that again.
So it brings you back to the beginning of the interview. Like Tony doesn't remember too much when I first met him. I'm like, Tony, you worked at a Downtown Records in Chelsea. I lived in Chelsea, and he was like, yeah. I'm like, I used to walk in. I used to pay records. I used to buy them.
Are you that memorable that people will forget you?
I know, right? Well, again, I must have been 100 pounds lighter, and I had a lot of hair, long hair, and now I look completely different. But and then we just started talking. During the pandemic is when he reached out to me. He goes, "Hey, I like what you're doing," and he's always been an idol. Like when I heard the Cover Girls, I know that he was part of doing the music for that record.
Right. He was doing the remix. I believe he was remixing, correct?
Yeah. And he did a lot of records that I like between him and Andy Panda at Fever. There was a lot of stuff, and I always said I want to produce like they do.
That's another name
Oh
that's
yeah.
legendary. Andy Panda. Oh my God,
Yeah.
legendary.
And then he
Um,
reached out during the pandemic and said, I like the stuff you're putting out. I put a single out, he liked it. And the compliments he gave me, I was like, wow, this is my idol. No joke, this was my idol. And I'm like, I told my wife, Tony Moran sent me a message saying he likes my stuff. Then he asked for my number. He called me. We had great conversation. And he said, why don't we do a song together? You know, my heart was like, oh, that's it. This is, I can die now, you know. And we did a demo of a song together. And we were ready to put it out. You know, he had some personal things that happened. He said, let's put a hold on that record, but I want to do it. And then he reached out to me again at the end of last year. I remember I was driving and he said, hey, can you listen to this song? Tell me if you like it. I'm like, pulled over, listened to it. I'm like, dude, I love this record. He was like, do you want to put it on artistic? I'm like, what? Heck yeah. So he sends me the stems, the masters, everything, and I do my mix, and I did a dub mix to it. I did the mastering, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is perfect." And yeah, we've been, you know, from there. He's like, He's showing me other songs and other stuff he wants to put out. The man is nonstop, though. I don't know how he gets the energy. Like you said, he's all over the globe.
I mean, he literally called me to apologize that he was late for our interview. Um, if I don't hear from anyone by 1 o'clock, then we'll read. You know, I speak with Estella, my associate producer
Yeah.
of the an editor of the podcast. Well, you know, let's wait till we hear from him and we'll reschedule. He called me like at 4 o'clock and
Yeah.
apologizing. His plane landed. His flight got in late,
Yeah.
and now we're talking on the phone, FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I said, you shouldn't really be doing FaceTime with me because you look so. And he was laughing. He was laughing because we talked about the only 1 or 2 times that we had ever worked together,
Yeah.
and he was on stage and the Village People performed. But he was so charming. And then we start talking, going into an hour. I said, you can't do this because this is the interview.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, what's amazing is that he was just back from Australia.
Yeah.
And he's only been there maybe 10 times.
Wow.
To my 39 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said to me, wow, you got me beat by 29 times. And so when I mentioned to him what I was doing with Gimme Gimme Disco, that, you know, I found a niche where it's not advertised. It's sort of like a DJ's playing, and all of a sudden lights go down, ladies and gentlemen, and then this overture thing comes on, and then the introduction, and then I show up, and then I open with Dance With Me, Peter Brown's classic. I redid that and open with Dance With Me. So it gives the people that are there dancing, like say it's him, it will just give them a super added rush. And he was flabbergasted. He said, "You're doing that?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, I gotta tell my agent, you know, because I mean that would be sweet to come out and do a couple of those things with him." But the interesting thing that I find about him is that I love how he transcended from band to international DJ.
Yeah.
Was he always doing that when you met him? Was he DJing?
So he was a DJ, yep, when he was working out of Downtown Records. And the reason he worked there.
Oh my God, another classic place.
Remember Downtown. That place? Ralphie. I remember everybody there.
for our listeners, explain Downtown Records, please.
Oh, Downtown Records is where DJs lived, first of all, right? Any record that you couldn't find, because there was other, remember Rockin' Soul on 34th Street? I don't remember that.
Not so much, no, but Downtown Records.
That was a competition, but you would get all the hip hop stuff. But, you know, downtown is where you find all the club stuff. You know, when freestyle first started, that's where you would get those freestyle test presses. They would have DJs there that would debut stuff. Say, hey, I just got a test press from my record pool. Let's play it. And it would be like you're at a club. It would be packed in there, and people saying, "I want to buy that record. Where do I get it?" It's amazing. They would test the records out in front of other DJs there.
Was that also like a membership for DJs, like a membership kind of situation?
I don't know, but I could assume because that place. I walked in there. I just got lucky because I met the owner. I was good friends with the owner, and all the DJs that were there, the manager of the place. So they were, very cool. Like they'll tell me, "Will, I know what you're here for." They'll put records aside for me. Listen to these records before you buy.
Because I also know, and I also remember that the New York record pool was like that. That if you were playing at, say, excuse me, at a club, and they knew that you were DJing at that club, you could come in, and they would actually give you the music, so that you could test it out on the people on the evening that you were playing. So the New York record pool was
I remember them.
as the record pool that you were part of.
Yeah.
Did you work as a DJ during that time?
No, this is before I was, I was like 14, 15 at the time. So my mother bought
14, me 15. I barely got out of Brooklyn when I was 14, 15.
I guess very lucky because where I lived in Chelsea. So we had the fun house that turned into house clubs.
Okay.
You had the tunnel right there down the block. You had 1018. It was the Roxy. We had the Palladium.
Oh man, classic places that are just gone, and
it's sad. When I think
about that. It's sad. The Danceteria, right?
Danceteria, yeah.
And the thing is that part of that period that you're talking about, that was a period when Madonna was in New York, and she was hitting the clubs, and she was pushing her tapes around, her cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And then she managed to, like, I don't know, hook up with Jelly Bean. I think it was a Fun House. Mm-hmm. And then, well, they say the rest is history. Yeah. Because she was just one girl that, apart from all the other girls that were trying to make it, apart from DJs and aspiring singers, she managed to really open the right doors for herself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that was hard to do.
She was hustling. She was going there. She was where she needed to be at. I'm going to make a career out of this, and she made sure she was in the right spots.
Yeah, exactly. So you come out of the group, and then you're not DJing, but you go into full production.
Yep. I was DJing, since my mother bought me a turntable, and it was funny. I had one turntable, my best friend had one. I'm like, let's put them together. Let's be DJs.
You started DJing with one turntable?
Yep, and a cassette deck. So I'll play the cassette deck and then start mixing into the cassette.
What did you mix with? If you have from cassette to...
So the mixer, it was a little wooden mixer, had an input for the turntable, but I used a tape deck going in. And then the other turntable going to line 2. It made it even more funny. I hooked it up to my parents' stereo that had an 8-track recorder. Remember the 8-track tapes? So I would record my mixes onto 8-track tape.
So when you would do that, after it was on 8-track, then where did it go from there?
Then I would make copies onto cassette, dump it right to cassette. That was my master.
Dump it to cassette. Yeah. So that didn't last long. You would DJ. Was there a club that you were at playing?
No, I did all the colleges. So I was like, again, young, and I would get hired by City College to do the college parties.
The parties, yeah.
Yeah, so
Fordham University, they have big parties.
Yeah, in the Bronx, yeah. So it's funny.
I went to a couple.
I did a lot of that stuff until I got into a bad car accident. I didn't have a license. Then my mother found out that I was driving without a license. She goes, "I thought your friends were driving." So, but I think most producers start that way. You learn about BPMs and what records mix with another record, right? That's like production, that's how I, started. And, I mixed hip hop, house, whatever I had, I would just mix it.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, because I've traveled the world many times over, and I've traveled across this glorious, beautiful country of ours and to many, many cities. But apart from Chicago and Atlanta, you had LA, New York was really the epicenter of remixes, club music, then dance, then house, then freestyle. It was like the epicenter of where everything was happening. And
Yeah.
of course it trickled out
Yep.
to other
Absolutely.
places, you know. The thing is that I can honestly say that I really do miss that. I miss that, like Paradise Garage.
Paradise, I remember that.
Go
Yeah.
on a weekend, and if you didn't want to dance, you could sit back. Sometimes I would watch people dance, or you would dance by yourself.
Right.
No
Yep.
big deal, you know. And so I'm glad that we experienced and had that
Yeah.
when we were young.
Yeah. I'm just glad they never asked for ID back in the day.
You would have had a whole different other career.
I know.
So artistic records. So who's on artistic records other than Tony Moran?
Yep. So TK, their last single was on my label also. My wife, Cynthia Figueroa. Right now, my daughter, she's 14, Lily Rose. But I had so many artists in the past. I mean, it'll take Naija was on my label. And there are a lot of newer artists that I discovered in the 90s
Right.
were on the label. And of course, myself. But right now, we're just keeping it, like I have another TK record that we recorded. We waited a little bit because he was working on a lot of other projects.
Right.
So we have that dropping, another Tony Moran record. Of course, my wife's coming out with a new song, and it's just I'm not looking to fill the roster with a lot of artists. But
you might have to. You might have to. You might have to. You might have to grab one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got new material.
All right. All right.
And when I record music and original music, I put it for my show. So as to say, to release it, to get it out to people to buy it and sell it, like I haven't really done that. Like I haven't. Like I just put out a single in 21, and I put it on what is it? Driscoll Kid and Amazon.
Distro Kid. Yeah.
And Amazon, and I just threw it out there just to get it out. And very surprised at the reaction that I got from a lot of people internationally. They were like, "Oh my God, is there going to be more?" So now that we're way out of the pandemic, because I released it in 21, I've got now something new and two different styles of the same song, and getting ready to do another one. I don't know. I might just have to send them to you, and you might decide. I think we can squeeze in one more artist.
Yeah.
And we worked together before, which I find it's like it blows me away. And I'm so glad that you remembered the project.
Yeah.
I found several CDs of it with the master. So I'm going to get your mailing address and I'm going to mail that to you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Because the mastering on that was like
I remember your reaction. You were so excited. You were like, yeah, I think we were drinking. You were like super, you were into it. You listening. And I had to do some edits and you were like, yeah. You were so excited.
and it's a compilation of house music of different house artists, including myself, with myself. And but it was a compilation, and it was basically called Lost Desire in a House of Love, but in the DA House of Love. And real street, real hardcore house, which was happening in the 90s. And so I'm gonna have to take that out in a little while and then blast that in the house here, because I remember how good it was. And when I was speaking to Artie Rodriguez, whom you've worked with, who I was working with, and he was a producer on that, and he brought me to you. I mentioned that I was gonna have you on the show. He's gonna be on the show, I think, next to last, and then Tony Moran. Nice. And so I mentioned that project, and he just started rattling off a bunch of songs that he said, it's a shame that thing never really took off, But I mean, that's the journey that we take as musicians and artists and writers, that we do it not for profits to make money, but when we do it because we love it, and we love bringing people together.
Absolutely. That's the way you have to approach it. When I meet new artists, and if they say, "Oh man, I just want to make money," like, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Do it
You
because you
gotta do
love
it
it.
because you love it.
Right. If you love it and if you happen to make money with it, that's a bonus. That's a bonus, you know?
And while I'm still like, while I'm in my retirement phase, because I left the group and ended, that ended in 2017 from 1977. That was a solid 4 decades, 40 years. Um, so I still get that itch to be on stage. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm stepping out just in small little,
Yeah. Yeah.
giving people the, oh wow, look who's there, and they love it and I love it. But I don't know that I could. Oh my God, touring is not as easy as it used to be.
I know. We just started, me and Tony putting, I started a concert series because Tony's trying to get back into the circuit. He's known as, like you said, international DJs all over. He's like, I wouldn't mind doing some freestyle shows, and promoters just started knocking on my door. Boom, boom, boom,
Well,
boom,
he
boom.
needs to be on stage because first of all, there are not that many male Latin singers that are looking as hot and as fine as he is. Yeah, we've got the Ricky Martins and all that, they're well established and on their way. But to have Tony out on the circuit performing again, I mean, he's now the total package.
Absolutely. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy and such wisdom and such and he's so kind and
humble. Yeah.
humble when he speaks. I mean, he was telling me some things that I was gushing, going, "Oh, wow,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you, thank you."
Yeah.
But he's so connected.
Yeah.
And spoke very highly of you. Loves his trajectory of where he is with you.
Awesome.
I'm happy that he's in good hands because I mean the DJ that I think eventually will have a shelf life, but because the boy lives at the gym too.
Yeah, he does. He stood here. He's like, "Where's the nearest gym?" He has a membership to every gym. So I go, "We have this gym. I got a membership." So I dropped him off.
Oh shoot! All right, But listen, I mean, God bless him, and I can't wait to have him on the show. So what are you working other than your daughter's got a single coming out?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it? Is it freestyle? What is it?
She's getting to a stage. When she did her first record, she was 8, and she's like, "Yeah, this is fun." And now she's a musician now. She's into rock and all this stuff. And then she taught herself guitar. And
Very
she's
impressive, right? Very nice.
And I said, I asked her last, "You want to do another freestyle record?" She's like, "Yeah, all right." Like, wasn't so enthusiastic. I'm like, "Hey, what if you incorporate your guitar?" She's like, "Yeah, let's do that." That made her more excited. So, like, I already did the track. Now I just got to get her on there, put her personal piece of it into the song, so she feels like it's hers. She's gonna kill it. Her vocals are amazing, not because she's my daughter, but she sings 10 times way better than me. Her and my wife are so talented, and I'm glad she got my wife's vocals.
Yeah, I know Cynthia. I don't know if I met her, but I know
you did. Yeah, she remembers you. Yeah.
Yeah. Please send my best. Now the thing is, and now your daughter is how old?
14.
So you're letting her do this on her own because she wants to.
Exactly.
Not because you want her to.
Nope. Not at all. She's been around this all her life, and one day she just sang, and me and my wife were like, "Oh my gosh, she sings."
And on pitch too. Probably a beautiful pitch.
She hears songs on the radio, she'll start harmonizing. I'm like, "How did you learn how to do this?" She's like, "I don't know." I'm like, amazing. I'm very proud of her. Very, very proud of her.
So now you have a song out. You have an album out.
Yeah, I have a couple of albums out.
What's the one with the red cover?
Oh, that's The Love of My Life. That's the EP.
I didn't get that. I got Artie's and I got Tony's.
Yeah.
Hurt So Bad.
Yeah.
And I love the several remixes that you have on that. Although with one of those remixes, you went hardcore freestyle.
Yeah.
And I think there's a track that I like. Is I think either number 3 or 4. It's more clubby.
Yeah.
But tell me about The Love of My Life. The name of it, what it means to you, and what is the album about?
So it's funny. I've been doing songs for over 30 years, right? So I never wrote about anything that was my experience in life. I just wrote to write. I write a love song. I write about this, and I don't do that anymore. The last 3 songs or the last 3 projects I wrote about my wife, and it feels good to say that. Now, when you're a teenager, yeah, I have a crush. This is like real. Now I'm writing about our history. So these are all stories of how we met. So the verses are telling that story. So each song is just another chapter of our relationship. We've been together.
Those are songs with substance.
Yeah, and it feels so good because when she hears it, she listens to the words. She's like, "Oh, I remember that. I remember this. I remember that." Because it's all real. It's real life. And that's where I'm at in my life. I want to celebrate. Like I tell my daughter, a lot of parents don't stay together. We've been together 25 years, married 20 years. We just made 20 years 2 weeks ago. That's
wow. Well, so together 20,
25,
but married 20.
Yeah.
Wow, that's it. You know what? Hold that thought because we're gonna take a quick break. Everyone, we are going to take a break, and we'll be right back with our guest today, Will Valentine, here on the Disco Chronicles. So we're back with Will Valentine. So let's get back to the love of my life. Okay, so this is an album for your relationship with your wife, about your wife and you.
Yeah, it's just the story of us, and that's why 25 years later, she's the love of my life because I'm still we've been together that long. It's been great. Do we have times that are harder than others? Of course, everyone does. But at the end of the day, we love each other, and I couldn't ask for a better life than what I have right now.
That's great. That makes me happy. Congrats. And I love that you're celebrating that in your life because I'm at that juncture that I now have my first love song.
Nice.
Because everything I always sang about was about dance or some place like YMCA or Navy or being a macho man. I never sang love, not with the group. And now with this particular recording, it's my first love song. And I've had other recordings because the office has records all over the office and a cabinet full of Native American music awards, like 4 of them. So I did write and produce that type of music. And it won awards and what have you, but it's not commercial music. So while I did it, again, I did it because of the love of what I was doing. And for that particular community, my Native community being biracial, to just give back and show other artists and inspire that, hey, let me tell a story that you may not remember, a story about the Trail of Tears or We're Still Here. And so I started writing, romanticizing the native life in dance music. So now that I'm on this new journey discovering love, and so like you, I find it fascinating that it was nothing I ever really thought about. I mean, yeah, okay, I've had it, I've lost it, got it back again, lost it again. And when you write as a songwriter and as a musician, when you write about love, you love in that category, with that specific feeling, you're tapping in something. We are tapping into something that is so real and so it is not made up. It's a feeling of experience with someone, and where it can take you. And I love that more and more people are singing about love now.
Yeah.
You find that as you're producing, you find more artists coming in.
Absolutely. Like I listened to my daughter's playlist the last few years, and it's never really about love, right? It's
not.
No,
but she's 14. She hasn't even experienced.
No, I know that, but like listening to the songs that she would like, and I'm like, wow, this is not really about but I, as a teenager growing up with freestyle, every song was about love, and I wrote about it, but it wasn't uh, it wasn't from experience. It was just, all right, well, everyone's writing about love. Let me make up a story. That was how I would write songs, you know.
Yeah,
Now it's
because
different.
and then we have now this new type of song, the revenge songs
Oh
with
yeah,
Shakira.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then one that blew up all over the world and is the number one all over there is Miley Cyrus.
oh yeah, yeah,
Flowers. I mean, like, how beautiful is that? That you could talk about something that was so bad, but you can make it so good.
yeah,
And she makes it. She celebrates that
yeah,
that empowerment and that freedom of what you once had. So it's nice to write about love, whether you had it, whether you've got it, whether you had it, or whether you lost it.
yeah,
I just love right now where music is at. You?
yeah. Absolutely. Like, I'm not. I just started listening to more songs lyrically than I did before because as a producer, I listen to music first, lyrics second. But now I'm starting to listen to songs a little more. I have my TikTok show on Mondays, and people send me new music, and it's a New Music Monday is the name of the show. And when I listen to it first before I play it, and I'm like, I'll call the artist. I like the lyrics on this. I'm feeling this. Tell me, why did you write about this? They will tell me the stories. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. And you're hearing more of that love into the songs, and not just the bubblegum teenage love. It's more mature love. So,
I'm writing right now to remind myself on a stickum
yep.
to get on your show. Is that
Yes.
every Monday? No, I've tried and I've reminded myself, but every Monday, I after dinner I kind of like space out and I chill and you go on at night,
Yeah.
9 o'clock, and tell everyone because I need to get on. That's why I wrote. That's why I wrote it down to remind myself to pop in.
Mhm.
Tell our listeners what it's about because I love it.
Yeah, it's called New Music Mondays. I started in July of last year to promote my latest release. I'm like, everyone, I met this team called Team One Us, JJ and Heck. They're big TikTokers. They have, a million views, I don't know, like 50,000
I'm
followers.
not that kind of TikToker
Me
like that.
either. I
Yeah,
never was a
okay.
fan of it at all. And I had a conversation with her, one of the members. She was like, "This is the new radio. Let me teach you about it." And she sets up like this, a Zoom, and would coach me and my wife. This is how you do it. This is how you get followers, and this is what the benefits are of it. So I did it more of a promotional thing for my new song.
Right.
It just grew, and I saw the listenership went from 30 people to 50 to 100, sometimes 200, sometimes 300. I'm like, whoa. And it was a different fan base than my Facebook fan base. So I'm like, this is incredible. Like, this is the new form of radio, I would say. And I
Yeah,
saw
it's
the
the new.
results.
I think it's the new. It's like it's the new Instagram in a
Oh
way.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, I'm trying to get you and me on there, but I don't see on TikTok over here with Will Valentine. I'm getting you on there right now. And I'll put this up there, but I definitely am going to get on there. So the new music, what is the name of the show called?
Oh, New Music Mondays.
New Music Mondays. Um, and so how many artists do you have? Are they all coming in because they have new music and they want to talk about it?
So it all depends. So
Is it live? Is it
it's
live?
live. Yeah, it's live show. Um, so the thing is, TikTok is very particular of who they let go live. You have to have a certain amount of
Well, yeah, I'm
followers.
trying to figure that out. Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah. So you have to get up to before you can even do it live. You have to get a followership. Like, you got to have at least 1,000 people following you.
Something like that, yeah.
Yep. So I started doing that first. We got it, with the help of Team One Us. They got me to 1,000 within a week. I'm like, oh wow! And then it just grew and grew and grew. And then the way to maintain and to continue to grow your fan base was you got to put out content at certain times of the week, a certain amount per week.
Yeah, there are certain days, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I've been a student of the game, and now other artists are reaching out to me. How do I do that? So I refer them to Team One Us. They're amazing. They're great.
Team One Us.
Team One Us. Yeah, it's a company I work with. There's two people. They're like social media masters. I know the young lady who's in that company. She used to work for a record label. I forgot the name of the label. Promoting Justin Bieber. What's that guy's name? Sean Kingston. A lot of these big records that were out. I would say early 2000s. And she learned a lot from that experience, and she brought it over to the social media side. And she's been a big part of the Tony Moran thing. She's the one who got Tony Moran on TikTok, and Tony is like,
she got Tony because now I see Tony on Tony. I see when he'll pop something up, and I get the alert, and I give him that love.
Yeah.
The thing is that what TikTok was like MySpace back in the day, but now MySpace is it as equally as big? It's not as big.
No, TikTok is #1 platform right now.
It's the #1 platform in the world right now.
Yeah.
With I think like 150 million in the United States alone.
Yeah.
In the United States alone, there's at least 1 billion people probably around the world.
Yeah.
So that all of this being said, what's next for you? What's in plan in stages, or what's in plan for the summer coming up?
So this is the thing. We just started something called Back to the Future concert series, right? So, and the reason we started is me and a friend of mine named Manny. He has a company called Manny Man Entertainment. Is when you look at freestyle shows, it's always the same groups. Nothing against them, but
I noticed that. That's why having Tony that's why having Tony pop into that, because he's yesterday, but he's new today.
Yes, exactly. You hit it right on.
Because he looks phenomenal, like he's TV ready.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna do well on that. So they basically, you guys are gonna be putting like together.
We already have Chicago, we have Massachusetts, we have Connecticut, we have Florida. So, and now Texas has reached out, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So our goal was just to start it off. Me and my partner, I said, we'll fund it once he gets enough buzz. And the buzz, it's funny, we just put out the first show today, and Eventbrite went crazy already. Now I have promoters like, hey, how do I get them in California? How do I get them in Dallas? I'm like, wow, that was pretty fast, So that was the whole goal, is to get these artists. Some of them, some are newer. Then you have Tony Moran, who's been around, but also has new stuff, and get them to perform not only their classic stuff, but the newer stuff, because a lot of promoters won't let them perform the new stuff. They go, no, fans want to hear it.
I know. That's true. You're right about that. Yeah. And then many of the artists that had music from, their catalog, or the music that made them who they are, they do have new music. Exactly. And then there are some promoters that don't want the new songs at all. And I feel that you stifle an artist when you keep them in a lane and you don't let them branch out.
Yeah.
Speaking as an artist.
Absolutely. But that's the short-term plan right now, getting this tour going, which is it's already growing. So let's get past, get through the spring and summer. We already got some stuff brewing for the fall, but also at the same time working on new music. So we have to fit that in too, because
sure. Well, you need that break. Yeah, you need that break. You definitely need that break. Yeah. So I'm also itching to get back into the recording studio. So as a songwriter and producer, I need to now figure out, okay, the game is looking pretty good. People are excited to see me because I don't look old.
You do not. I was showing my mom the other day. We were like, Mom, remember? And she was like, tell him I said hi. Because she has the picture, like she treats it like gold. She just tell him I said
how sweet. How sweet. How sweet. Yeah. So, and 69 does not feel 69 because I don't think like that.
Yep. No.
And that's an age that, that I'm looking at, but it doesn't, because I still act a fool, play a song and I love it, I start jumping up, and so I'm young at heart, and I take good care of myself. But to look at Tony and to keep running back to him again, to look at Tony and to go, okay, you know what, he tapped into it. I know I did, but he's tapped into it because, and I have to say that behind that logo there that you see, the Disco Chronicles and Beyond.
Yeah.
Estella's back there. She must be laughing because I was sending her pictures of, the upcoming show. Like, we have pictures of you that we're gonna cascade and this and that. And she was like, I can't with that man.
Yeah.
So how can our listeners find you? Where can they see you?
So we have a website, artisticrecordings.com. It's with a K instead of a C, but
Right.
yeah, all our music's on there. We're putting the tour stuff on there. Also, people don't know there's no Sam Goody's Tower Records anymore. So where do they buy this stuff? They could buy the CDs and the vinyl right on the website. So
everything on the website, because Tower Records is online now. It's not an actual store, right?
Yep. It's only online. Yeah.
It's only online. So again, one more time, artisticrecords.com.
Artisticrecordings.com, and it has Tony Moran stuff, myself. Everybody has a certain section. I have my own website, willievalentin.com, but it's connected with the artistic anyway. So that's helping us out. For people to find, it's funny, just real quick. When I was on Micmac, I was friends with the head of promotions there. His name was Ron DiNicola, and one day he went online and he saw my webpage and he sent me a message through my website. He goes, "Hey, Will, this is Ron. I know you remember me." And I gave him my number. We caught up again. And it's cool to be able to catch up with people. And he was like so proud because he was part of me starting my label. He taught me everything that I knew, how to run a label, how to get distribution, how to promote, how to market. So it was glad to catch up with him through the website. So
this is terrific. So listen, I'm so happy that we circled around again. It just really thrills me to pieces to know that that you were part of my life back then and now still are again. Absolutely. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being on the Disco Chronicles and Beyond. And I hope that we run into each other this summer.
Yeah.
Spring. And I want to just again the best of everything. And that is my interview today with the incomparable and talented man of many hats and an artist as well, Mr. Will Valentin. Thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This is the Disco Chronicles and Beyond. I'm your host, Felipe Rose, and we'll see you again for our next episode. Thank you. Ciao.